At launch, Eridium in Borderlands 3 used to be just another currency, and once you bought all the cosmetics, it became essentially useless. However, with the release of the Anointment reroll machine, Eridium became the most valuable mineral in the game, not just canonically either. But what's the best way to get Eridium? Hey everyone, I'm Constant Canadian, and these are the top 5 best Eridium farms in Borderlands 3. If you enjoy this video, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Starting off the list is the Lavender Crawley farm. On the Droughts map on Pandora, there's a legendary hunt target named Lavender Crawley. Lavender Crawley is a Varkid that is essentially a living nesting doll. Upon killing Sir Crawley, they will pod up, as Varkids do, but rather than evolving, they will be born into 2 separate Varkids. Upon killing these 2 Varkids, they will again pod up and split into another 2 Varkids each, for a total of 4 Varkids. Now here's the fun part. Each of these final 4 Varkids will drop anywhere from 6 to 10 Eridium each, meaning that each run can net you anywhere from 24 to 40 Eridium. This farm takes about 1 minute and 20 seconds of in-game time, which equals on average around 1,512 Eridium every hour. One thing to note about this farm is that I found if you kill the final 4 Varkids too soon after another, then they won't drop their drops, and thus Eridium. So definitely try to space out the kills at least a little bit. Coming in at 4th place is Villa Ultraviolet. Villa Ultraviolet is a map introduced with the Revenge of the Cartels event. But the most important thing about the map for this video is that it is absolutely littered with piles of Eridium dust, which will drop a pretty significant amount of Eridium when shot, stabbed, or however else you choose to break them. There are also 6 different mini-bosses throughout this map that can be killed for a pretty decent amount of Eridium. All in all, one total run through the map, breaking all of the Eridium piles and taking out all of the mini-bosses, will net you anywhere from 280 to 450 Eridium. There is one pretty big issue with this farm. If you take out Joey, the main boss at the end of the map, then you will be required to get another 25 decoder rings to run the map again. So the best way to farm Villa Ultraviolet is to go through the map hitting all of the different spots for the mini bosses and breaking all of the Eridium piles along the way. Then, when you get to the final boss arena, take out the 2 mini bosses and save quit without killing Joey. Doing this will allow you to farm the whole map all over again, kill all 6 of the mini bosses, and break all of the Eridium piles without having to farm up another 25 decoder rings. Altogether, farming the random mobs, mini bosses, and Eridium piles takes around 8 minutes and 45 seconds, which is a pretty long time, but that's an average Eridium haul of about 2,358 every hour, enough for almost 10 rerolls. At 3rd place we have the Ruiner. The Ruiner is the final boss of the Bounty of Blood DLC. This boss is a pretty simple and straightforward kill. They also drop a bunch of loot, cash, and you guessed it, Eridium upon being killed. Along with the 3 to 4 legendaries the Ruiner seems to drop after each kill, they'll also drop around 50 or so Eridium on average. Taking out the Ruiner is super quick, and it takes around 45 seconds to kill the Rampager and collect the loot it drops. Which means that on average, this farm will net you around 5,571 Eridium. A pretty big jump from the last entry on this list. Coming in at 2nd place is the Slaughter Shaft, Cistern of Slaughter, and the Slaughter Star 3000 map. Now, technically that is 3 separate farms or areas, but they all use the exact same mechanics, so I'll just bundle them all together. At the launch of Borderlands 3, the bosses in these maps would only drop their respective drops and world drops on occasion. However, thanks to a buff on April 22nd, 2021, now each of the Slaughter map bosses also drops a huge chunk of 500 Eridium, guaranteed. This was a pretty big change at the time, and even still is an incredibly good source of Eridium. Now, I know what you're thinking. Doing the Slaughter maps takes upwards of 20 to 30 minutes. How on earth is this a good Eridium farm? That's only 1,000 to 1,500 Eridium per hour. However, what you might not know is that as long as you don't clear the entire room on the final wave of round 5, the objective does not complete, and then you can fast travel to the map's fast travel station to fail the round, allowing you to skip 4 of the 5 rounds, which takes this farm from 25 to 30 minutes to around 4.5 minutes. Based on that farming time, the Slaughter maps can get you around 6,716 Eridium per hour. Note that these times are based on the Slaughter Shaft map. Also, even though it might be significantly easier than the Slaughter Shaft, I highly recommend not farming the Slaughter Star 3000 using this method, as it's incredibly glitchy and will sometimes end the round before you have even touched a single boss. So definitely stick with the slaughter shaft and the cistern of slaughter. The honorable mention for this list is gonna have to go to Goyan. The Goyan is a crew challenge boss in the 3rd DLC, Bounty of Blood. The Goyan will spawn clones of itself throughout the fight. Once upon a time, these clones would drop a hefty amount of Eridium, allowing for save quitless Eridium farming. However, a hotfix that I can't find the date of fixed this unintended mechanic, so now only the original Goyan will drop Eridium, which leaves this farm pretty much on par with Lavender Crawley. And finally, coming in at 1st place, the best Eridium farm in Borderlands 3 by a long shot, Voracious Canopy and its Eridium crystals. If you've played the Director's Cut DLC's mission series Mysterious Lure and equipped its final mission reward, then you know that there are actually invisible Eridium crystals hidden around the various maps in the game. However, even though they're invisible without the mysterious artifact equipped, you can still smash these invisible crystals without the artifact. That's where the Voracious Canopy comes into play. This area on the map here actually has 9 Eridium crystals that can be broken for some pretty insane amounts of Eridium. Pair this with the nearby New You station and a little bit of experience and you can spawn in and clear these crystals in just under 30 seconds. One pretty important thing of note for this farm is that if you want the maximum amount of Eridium from each crystal, then you need multiple instances of melee damage, which essentially just means that you want as many elements as possible applying to your melee hits when you smack these crystals. Whether that be through anointments, skills, class mods, or artifacts. The easiest way to do this is through the use of 2 action skill and 50% damage anointments on your shield and grenade, as well as using the static charge artifact with the stone prefix. If set up properly, this will give you 2 different elements from your anointments and another 2 different elements from the artifact you're using. And if you're playing as Amara, you can even use her illuminated fist skill to add yet another element to your melee damage for absolute maximum Eridium from this farm. This farm is substantially better than every other farm in this list, and if properly set up, can get the player on average 26,000 to 28,000 Eridium every hour of in-game time, more than every other farm on this list combined. So there you have it, the best Eridium farms in Borderlands 3. Thank you all so much for watching, have a fantastic day.